I think the modern day African woman is exploring and showcasing her versatility and her sharpness. All of that enveloped by her innate desire to succeed and to take people along with her. And when I'm talking about the modern day African woman, I'm not just talking about a certain age or a certain generation. No, I'm talking about every single woman of African descent today who finds herself in a position of influence. You hear her voice and you see her action, and that is inspirational. And that kind of person is who I've seen, or I feel Anita Ehui is. So of course, I grabbed her and she's my guest on ZHURI. You're welcome to the conversation. Anita, you're welcome to ZHURI.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Anita, I like to start this show always with a description of the journey. You know what I mean? I've been reading all your newsletters. I've been reading, all your posts on LinkedIn, and I'm fired up when I think of what could be this journey that you've been on, this journey that has brought you right here, this something that has made you Anita Ehui. What is that something that has made you this person that I'm celebrating on the show today?
I think ever since I was young, I knew that I wanted to do something extraordinary. I knew I didn't want to do anything small. I mean, I came from a very small city in Canada, Ottawa. And I would take things from my house, and my mom can repeat this story 100 times to everyone. I would take things from the house and sell them, and she couldn't get over the fact that from a small age, like I was always into like commerce, like business. Like if I had something that I wanted to buy, whether it was a pair of shoes, candy, anything, I would find a way to make money to be able to do that. So I think my business sense and even me going into e-commerce started from that kind of mentality that I had. I really had an entrepreneurship spirit, but I didn't know how it would reflect later on in my life. But I always held on to that. And that's why I call myself a strategist, because I'm always into strategy and how I can get something done from beginning to end.
So Anita, I call what you've just described to me as a gift. It probably I don't know, if there's anything like a gift of strategy, you have it. But how do you move that gifted young person, that gifted young Anita, to today's mature, great, and impactful Anita? What's the connection? How did it happen?
I think I really experimented. I was never afraid to try something new. And I also never thought that anything was impossible. I mean, I knew a lot of people, whether they were aunties, uncles, or cousins that were, I would say, one of one, like the only doctor or the only dentist. And I was always motivated that like there should be more of us in different spaces. Even if I didn't see myself in that space, I wanted to be the one for someone else to see in that space. And so I never got scared of any opportunity that came to me. And I always was searching for an opportunity. Like I would just ask. I did a lot of interning in the beginning of my career and just wanted to be around people who I thought were excellent at what they did, that I thought were very interesting, that I thought had really genuine personalities that I could also learn from. And I think that's really what helped me grow into the person that I am. It took a lot of not knowing. And I heard a quote before online that said, a lot of the things that you are going to do, you won't find on Google. And just to say that you'll be the first, you'll be the pioneer, or that like it will have to come from you. Because I think a lot of our generation, my generation, is so used to finding things on the internet or replicating something that was done, which I don't think is a bad thing, but we should also be motivated to be the ones to create that information or to be the first to do it.
You know, Anita, the one thing I don't like to do is, try to define people unless, they intrigue me so much that I want them to explain to me how they essentially describe themselves. So I'm going to ask you that question. How do you define who you are?
So on my social media, I use the account A for ambitious. And really that's how I define myself. That's how I lead. That's how I live life. And I think that no matter what the mission is, I carry that same energy, that I just always want to go higher in the things that I do. I want to inspire people. I want to motivate people, whatever is inside of them that maybe they're holding back or are scared of elevating themselves to. I want to just show them that it can be done. A lot of the people who I grew up with, like they talk to me every day about how like it's crazy how we were all just like in the playground and now you're here and now you're doing this. And I'm like, it's possible for all of us. Like success looks different for everyone. And I just want to show that in the things that I do. But I also believe that you shouldn't attach yourself to, say, a company or a person or one singular mission, because that could change after time. I've changed a lot. My first degree was in political science. Now I'm in luxury fashion. If I just held on to like one concept of how I believed that I would be, I wouldn't be where I am now. Like we shouldn't be afraid of change as long as we stay genuine to who we are. And for me, I'm A for ambitious, whether that's in traveling and exploring the world, or whether that's in like working for one of the biggest brands in the world, or whether that's moving to a new country that I don't speak the language in. I think that's the fun of it. And whatever I do, it's always going to be with that mission behind it.
So what would you say the role of fear is in being A for ambitious?
I would say fear played a big part of my development, because I think at one point of time, I was scared to detach myself from the environments that I was in, because I thought that those places defined who I was. So for instance, living in Canada or going to the school that I went and being with the people that I usually were with. I think once I really recognized that fear is in your head, and on the other side of fear, which some people who stay in fear don't ever see what's on the other side. And that's the thing, like sometimes you just have to take that leap, as scary as it might seem, the other side of things. I've seen the other side and I've seen that I've got through it and I've got stronger, and I've been able to do things by myself, go places by myself, try new things, and it didn't kill me. I'm still here. It just made me stronger. And I think it's psychologically building yourself up, giving yourself the confidence. And I'm a God-fearing person, so I have to definitely speak about that. My faith has been a huge part of how I overcome fear, because I do believe that God is above me and that he's carrying me, and I'm simply doing a mission that he has already planned out. So really, I'm just a vessel. So whenever I get really scared and it's almost like you're paralyzed in your fear, I just remember that I'm just doing God's work, really. Half of the things, if I don't do, another person's blessing may be stalled, because a lot of the things that I do, other people say that they're inspired or motivated, and they ask me questions about how they can do the same. And it's like, it's impactful. So I have to just, whenever I feel scared, think about what's on the other side and who else is going to be impacted by me sitting in my fear.
So you've described this fear, and clearly this fear, you know, even though you have literally, you are depending on God to just keep you moving because you believe He's put you on that path, you must have felt a certain degree of discomfort. In that moment of discomfort, who have you become? What have you turned this discomfort into? What role has the discomfort played in who you are and what you're doing right now?
I would say that discomfort has actually been my motivator. There's certain moments of my life that I can see so clearly that I was so discomfortable because I knew I wasn't doing what I could be doing. I knew that I was being really stagnant, that I was not moving in a direction that I know I could be. So those moments made me discomfortable and made me think of how I wanted to live the rest of my life. And that is really, I would say, every time that I moved to a different company or a different country, it's been because I'm like, okay, life is a little too easy for me right now. Things are a little too routined. I'm getting used to this. I'm forgetting about some of the projects and the goals that I had previously. And that is actually what makes me uncomfortable. That is what makes me think, okay, I'm not being true to myself, because the true Anita is someone who's ambitious, always looking for opportunities, always looking to connect with people. So that's the first part of my discomfort. My second part of discomfort is the initial thoughts of doing something new. Sometimes you do too much planning, you do too much thinking, overthinking, that it starts to turn your good idea into something that could potentially be scary or a potential failure. And so I try not to overthink, to do the planning that's necessary, but pray on it and then act. Most times, the discomfort that you think that you're going to have doesn't happen in the beginning of a new opportunity or a new adventure or a new chapter of your life. And that for me is, again, psychological. I've never actually felt uncomfortable with doing something new because I know this is a new opportunity to better myself. So when it comes to discomfort, I try not to sit in it at all. I try to act quickly and get over the thought behind what makes me uncomfortable, and try to, it's kind of tricky, this one, because I know the typical thing that most people say is to live on the other side of comfort, to be uncomfortable, to be in, things that are new to you. But I see it two ways. I do feel like you need to be in the middle. There's a certain time when I didn't feel stable in the environments that I was, because I was jumping from one city to another, to one country to another. And it also messed with my headspace. And it was really hard to establish like roots and some things that ground me, like my community or my friends and family. So it really does need to be, I think you need to have a balance between what grounds you and what pushes you. And that's what I find in the in-between between discomfort and comfort. Being in a routine day to day, it's fine. It's fine for most, but for me, I can't operate in that way for too long and still be productive or still push myself to achieve new goals.
Anita, you are a global citizen, you know, of the highest kind, but also you're a daughter of Africa. You're an African woman, and you take Africa, you know, wherever you go. You know, I see it even in your, on your necklace. It's beautiful. But talk to me about Africa. Wherever you are in the world, when you hear Africa, when you see Africa, when you feel Africa, what do you think of?
Yes, I love this question so much. My Africa is home. My Africa is a safe place for me and the person who I'm becoming and want to be present as. I would say every time that I go to Africa, for Ghana, for instance, I instantly feel connected to the music, the people, the food, the energy. It's almost like healing. I mean, I've been to so many places in the world and discovered different cultures, but there's just something about African culture, obviously as an African as well, that's so comforting, that's so motivating. I always encourage other people to look into the real Africa, like the culture, the food, the people, the languages, the history, because I think Africa as a continent and as, you know, just small cultures within itself is so dynamic. Like the people are so fascinating. Every African that I meet has a different story to tell about how they're experiencing like the African dream or how they're experiencing life in Africa, even abroad. And it's like so interesting to put all these stories together and recognize it as one continent. So for me, like I said, Africa is home. It's a place that I'm constantly discovering different parts of. It's somewhere that I'll always be proud to come from, somewhere that I will always set straight the correct narrative when I feel that the real true depiction of Africa is being mistrued. And it's a place of discovery. For others who aren't African, or whether you are African, it's just a place of discovery for sure.
Africa, my Africa. We'll be right back after the break. Authenticity, it's power. And if you take authenticity and you attach it to a story you're hearing, trust me, you feel a surge of energy, positive energy. Because in those stories about challenges, overcoming them, you know, jumping over hurdles that sometimes you even feel or felt you could never jump over, you learn that there is never, or there's nothing like a perfect journey. But there's everything about a trail that has been blazed because someone decided to keep going, to just stay focused. And these are the stories I tell right here on She Rose. These women, they let it all out so that you can hear, you can feel, and your soul can shift. And I'm bringing you more She Rose right here on Anita Erskine Network. Every Wednesday and every Thursday at 1900 UTC, you get to watch yet another extraordinary woman tell her authentic story so that you may learn and you may be all the better for it. The stories are coming to you. Our women are speaking. Are you listening? You're welcome back. Anita, we're talking about Africa, your Africa, when you see Africa, when you are in Africa, how you feel. Let's talk about the African woman. Who should she be? What should she aspire to do and be from your perspective?
Yes, I'm seeing African women as strong, motivated, inspiring. And I just love seeing the ascension of these women because you're seeing them in places that they haven't been before. They're really rising to the occasion. They're really creating opportunities that weren't there before for others. They're setting an example for generations, which is really exciting because I think one major thing that I can say growing up is I didn't see certain people like me in spots that I am in now to kind of look up to or to even see, okay, this is the path to doing things. But now I feel like that's completely different. I feel like that you're hearing so many positive things about women like us, African women, just in in spaces, where their voices are heard. And I do want to see more women in political spaces, to be honest, where decision making is done and that could create bigger change for more generations. I had mentioned that I do come from a political science background. And although I've changed industries, it's still something that I'm passionate about. And I do feel like it's a space for real change and it can look different. It doesn't necessarily mean, being a president or an ambassador, but it could be just an advocate for whatever cause that you feel is your mission or your purpose.
Anita, can you share a life lesson with me tonight?
I would say the life lessons that I've learned throughout my experience, my career, is that there's always something to learn from each and every person that you meet. You truly don't know who is going to be who in the next lifetime. And I've learned so much from so many people that I've met several years ago that today I take with me. Because I meet so many people in so many different countries and cultures, there's something that I can always learn and take from a space that I've never been in through them. And so that's been something that I've really kept with me because it made me very open-minded and I just wanted to learn more and discover more through the people that I came across. Another thing, another life lesson is, and I mentioned it before, not to attach myself to companies or people or one experience that I've gone through because I'm constantly evolving. And I think you always have to have your own personal brand. You have to have your own story. Like, it's great that I've worked for LV or with Saks Fifth Avenue or some of these really big companies, and it's on my resume, so it's there, but that is not always the story that I am going to tell when I meet people. The story that I'm going to tell is about who I am in the world and what I bring to the world. And that has been something that has helped me because I've moved on from companies, but my story never ended. And that's because I always had that story of being an ambitious person, being an encouraging person, or a motivating person. So whether that was at a new company or a new country, that story was always the same, whether the company name changed. So that's really something that I feel has carried me in life and has motivated me to continue to share my story and continue to elevate myself in spaces that I never thought I could be in. Another, I would say the last lesson is actually more about your community or the people around you, your support system. I think, especially for career-driven women like myself, African women like myself, sometimes we can get so focused in the work that we do, in the missions that we have, in the goals that we have, that we don't stay as connected to our community or to our families or to our friends as we should be. And these are the people and the things that ground you. They keep you genuine, they keep you pure, they keep you confident. And so though that's a lesson that I learned, and whether I need to call my mom, on an important day, like I could have an important meeting and that will just calm me down. That's a lesson that I've held to me, that these, at the end of the day, are the most important people in my life. They're the ones who've actually driven me to be where I am. So they need to be prioritized in some way in my life.
Wow, we'll be back after this. Hi, my name is Anita Erskine, and there's so much I want to share with you on Anita Erskine Network. So you've got to subscribe and hit that bell button so that every single time we've got something new, you get notified. I'll see you on the other side. Wow, Anita, you've opened my eyes to some really true, strong, extraordinary nuggets. One of wisdom, two of the importance of knowing who you are, being true to yourself, being authentic. And you've created such a wonderful avenue, food for thought, not just for me, but I'm sure everyone who's going to watch this episode will rethink how they define the comfort zone or their comfort zone, how they define fear, how they define their personal brand, and all of that wonderful stuff you've shared on the show. Thank you so much for sharing and for being truly, authentically Anita.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say that thank you for being an inspiration to so many. I've followed you since I was young, to be honest, and I'm so honored to be on this show.
Thank you.
It's a boss lady thing.